What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio. We're going to be breaking down UFC Vegas 30. We have Ciryl going against Alexander Volkov, a very, very fun main event. We're going to talk some DFS, some Draftkings, and also talk some betting, some lines as well. Before we get started and get into it, if you guys can please leave a like on the video and also subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio if you are not already. And if you have not yet, me and Uncle Weezy did a Sunday show called Stat Diggers. Go check that out, where we went fight by fight, got really in depth. Went about like 2 hours and 30 minutes, so tons of good info on there. But here we will talk some DraftKings. We'll get into it. We'll talk some betting as well. Loomis, first one in the chat. What is up, Loomis? You guys have to start showing who's doing the breakdowns because some guys I like and some guys I don't. Well, hopefully you don't mind me, Loomis. Let's go. Finally made it for Elisha. There you go. For too long, hello, Brady is always working. Yes, sir. It's hard work. It's hard work, especially getting content out very, very early. Appreciate you for stopping by, man. Brady been a busy man this week. Let's go. I agree. So I say we get right into it here, and we're going to start with the first fight of the night. And we have Damir Hadzovic going against Yancy Medeiros. So very interesting fight here. I guess the thing I do want to pull up is going to be, well, I think the stats are very important on this one. And I kind of talked about it on my prediction video, and me and Weezy went over it on Sunday. And we'll take a look at the striking numbers. So Yancy Medeiros, 35% striking accuracy and only a 46% striking defense. And if you see it there, he has a negative significant strike differential of minus 1.33. That's not good at all. You have Damir Hadzovic, who, zero significant strike differential and a 66% striking defense, which is very good. So I think the interesting aspect of this fight is you take a look at the grappling stats. Damir Hadzovic has a terrible and awful 39% takedown defense. But the thing with Yancy is he has one takedown in the UFC. He averages 0.12. I believe he's attempted like 4 takedowns thus far in the UFC. So you got to think Medeiros probably should try to get this to the ground. But then again, we have just not seen it. So I do think this is going to play out primarily standing. So going over to the finish stats, and Damir Hadzovic has been finished in 2 of his losses, 2 out of 6 losses, 1 by knockout, 1 by sub. And Medeiros has been finished 4 times, 3 times by knockout. So he has been finished in 4 of his 6 losses. And you know what? I kind of like Damir Hadzovic here. So Medeiros is going to have probably a volume advantage. I mean, he's going to have a reach advantage, but the chin is just not all that there. The striking defense is not there. And Hadzovic, he can crack. He's a finisher, decent finish rate on him. Both guys have decent finish rates. So I do like Hadzovic. I do like the 8,500 as well. I think this is going to be a very low-owned fight. It is going to be the first fight of the night. I believe last week's first fight of the night was optimal with Casey O'Neill. And I feel like this one could be as well. I do think there's a finish in this fight. And I didn't even mention it, but take a look at the finish stats. 77% by Damir Hadzovic and 80% by Medeiros, 54% knockout for Damir, and then 53% by Medeiros. So both are very capable of getting finishes. Both are very capable of getting finished. So which that brings me to, the under. Like, what is the under in this fight? And we'll take a look. I need to widen this out a little bit. So the under in this fight, they have it at plus 125, plus 135. The fight doesn't go to decision at plus 100. I really like that under. Plus 125, I think there's a lot of value there. I do think there's a good chance that somebody gets finished. As far on, as the DK side, I'm kind of leaning to the Damir side. I think this, like I said, the fight's probably going to be low-owned as a whole, but I'm more so on the Damir. But I will have some Medeiros as well. I think Medeiros is more than capable of getting a finish himself. But for me personally, I'm on the Damir side. I think it's a good fight to target for the first fight of the night. See what we got in the chat here. What is up, Big Zoe? How you doing? Killing as always. Appreciate that. Gianni loves Damir Hadzovic. Either way, it should score well on DK. Well, if Gianni likes it, then should be good then. I think it's gonna be a good fight that scores well. I think it's gonna be a war. Weezy talked about this. Medeiros is going to give Damir Hadzovic the fight he wants, so it should be fun. 2 cents in the building. Sub Brady. What is up? 2 cents. Well, what's up, Big Show? Yeah, shout out to Big Show. You got the background for me there. Really do like that. Appreciate you, Big Show. We have Billy. Brady, go just like Tom. Appreciate that, Billy. Thanks for hanging out. Jack Attack in the building. Yancy has a chance. Sorry, he definitely has a chance for sure. Brady and Weezy are the human versions of Dolly Parton's working 9 to 5. There you go. I like it. What is up, Loomis? Thanks for hanging out. So we'll get to the next fight. Like I said, I always like targeting that first fight of the night. It seems like more often than not, it is, on the optimal lineup, unless it's like a Jake Collier fight. But I think this one has a good chance. So next we have Charles Rosa going against Justin James. Another fight that I think is a good fight to target. I mean, a lot of these fights, I think are pretty solid to target. And I went to kind of make my DraftKings video out or get the layout done, and I was really struggling to like find spots that really stuck out, because there's a lot of plays that really stick out this week. And these are two more guys that really stick out just because of Justin James. You take a look in his 4 UFC fights, the guy has not been the distance. He's either kill or be killed. He had that knockout win over Frank Camacho. Other than that, he's been finished in the first, in the second, and in the third round. So we'll take a look at the finishing rates on this one. And Charles Rosa, a very surprising 88% finish rate. That means he's finishing just about 9 out of his 10 wins. So yeah, that's pretty crazy to me. 62% by submission. We have seen James submitted once before. And then we take a look at James, 81% finish rate, 50% by knockout, 31% by submission. And I forget the exact number, but you take a look at James, and in his 16 wins, I think he has like 11 or 12 wins in that first round. So from a DFS standpoint, I think there's a very good chance this one is going to finish, whether it is James early. And we know how James fights. He's going to come out there. He's going to try to get that early finish. If he does not, he's going to completely gas down. At that point, Rosa can take over. But yeah, Justin James, I mean, he can very well win this fight, but I do think it's going to be early. And for that reason, 7,600 is not a bad play on Justin James as a dog. But with that also said, I think if Rosa can survive that early storm, I do think he starts to get takedowns, and I do think he can work in that submission in round 2 or round 3. But again, another fight that I feel like can very well finish, another fight that I want to be targeting on DraftKings, because you have to target these Justin James fights. He's a killer be killed fighter, just like Daniel Pineda, who we'll talk about in a little bit. He's also killer be killed. But yeah, I kind of like this fight. As far as a pick, I'll go Rosa because I think he has more ways to win. But James is just so dangerous. So I do like it for DK. I do like both sides there. James is not a bad underdog whatsoever. Taking a look at the under 2.5, it's not terrible. It is not horrible. Plus 100, plus 105 for the under 2.5, minus 130, minus 135 for the fight doesn't go to decision in a Justin James fight. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of tempted there. You even see it. Rosa, 88% finish rate. Like, that is a little bit surprising to me. But yeah, he's a finisher. He's a finisher, and Justin James has been finished more often than not if he does not get that early win. So yeah, the under is something that really has my interest here. Plus 100, minus 105. I don't mind that at all. But again, I do think it's a fight that's going to be important to target. Either James gets it done early or he gasses out and gets finished late. And yeah, Rosa really needs to win. Both guys do. Rosa seems like he hasn't won in a while. I think he's on like a 2-fight losing streak, maybe 2 or 3. I think he beat Aguilar. So he lost last time against Minner, and then he lost against Bryce Mitchell. So either way, it just hasn't been looking that good. And then Justin James is on a 3-fight losing streak. All 3 of those losses by knockout, or 2 by knockout, 1 by submission, I believe. So yeah, both guys have not been looking that great. Both guys do need to win here, and I do think there's a good chance it does finish. Agreed. Got the bets on Kennedy, Rakhmonov, but looking like a good night for spots. Agreed. I lean Damir too. Yeah, I think there's a lot of spots. I have 7 bets already and looking for some more. I think there's a lot of great spots. Appreciate that big show. As long as it stays on the feet, Damir should have the better defense, and Medeiros has a 35% striking accuracy power advantage to Yancey. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be a war, man. Just in time to lose to Charles Rosa. Yeah, I think he loses. There you go. Refuse to bet Rosa as a 2-1 favorite. Yeah, I don't as well. I like Yancey. I don't mind it. If he does win, hopefully it's by knockout. Has the line rose a bit? I think it has a little bit. So Rosa did, if I can find it. Yeah, open up minus 170, currently minus 175. Open up minus 180, currently minus 170. So not much line movement, but yeah, I'm going to take Rosa there. All right, next we have a interesting fight, at least from a DraftKings perspective. I would not recommend putting Julia Avila in your parlays. She is sitting at minus 360. You even have like minus 400 on some books. I would just not recommend it. At the end of the day, it is women's MMA, and Stoliarenko does have a path to victory. And again, I will go to the finish stats because I do think they're important here. So you take a look at Stoliarenko, 90% finish rate, and all 90% by submission. She has 8 submission wins, and all 8 of those coming by armbar. So we've seen it time and time again, armbar from guard in women's MMA, and I think this has it written all over it. I mean, if Avila can stay safe, stay smart, keep it on the feet, she should absolutely dominate this fight. I think she will look minus 350, minus 360. It's just Stoliarenko is going to pull guard. Maybe Avila hurts her and goes to the mat and follows her down there. And it's just at that point, it's giving Stoliarenko a path to victory. So I'd be very careful parlaying Avila because we see it time and time again. Stoliarenko is going to be very dangerous on the mat. And I wouldn't be shocked if Avila, goes to the mat with her. She thinks she's very confident in her ground game, kind of like Jamal Hill was against Paul Craig, kind of how like Steven Peterson was against Hooper, although it did work out. But Stoliarenko is like really good off her back. So as far as DK, it's interesting. I think Avila could be kind of a sneaky play 9,300. I don't really see many people going up there and paying for, especially with the other options around her, which we'll talk about. But I think if she keeps us on the feet and fights smart, I honestly think she can get a finish here. Stoliarenko has been knocked out twice. I don't rate her striking all that well. So Avila is somebody I'm kind of looking at as like a sneaky play that could potentially score really well. And as far as Stoliarenko, 6,900, I mean, she's a decent punt because 90% finish rate, you don't see that often in women's MMA, and she has a path to victory. And her path to victory is an armbar. If you're betting Stoliarenko, I'd bet the submission because that's probably the only way she wins. But we'll take a look at the under 2.5 here. And this was one I was kind of interested in. I just don't love the price for it. Typically, we see the women's unders sitting at like plus 230, plus 250, crazy numbers like that. But the bookmakers are all over it here. We have the under 2.5 at plus 150, plus 145. The fight doesn't go to decision at plus 120, plus 105, which still, I mean, it's not terrible. It's just not something I really want to put my money on. I can very well see this going to decision. But I'll take Avila for the win. She should win as long as she fights smart, but it's just not something I'd put in my parlays at minus 400. Just doesn't make all that sense to me. These first two are inside the distance plays for sure. Yeah, I mean, the Rosa Janes one is really sticking out at that price tag. Jack's got nothing for this one. I got to take regular spelling Julia. Yeah, I don't know how that's pronounced. Julia. I've heard it pronounced so many other ways. What's up, General? How you doing? Julia Vila will shit in your apple pie, parlay-wise, up there with Showtime Pettis. Yeah, I mean, I would not be shocked if Julia Vila got armbarred. Wouldn't be shocked at all. All right, so getting into the next fight here, we have Marcin Prachnio going against Ike Villanueva. And yeah, this one's interesting because, man, I think this lines off in general. And we'll take a look at it, which it looks like it's coming down a little bit, but Prachnio minus 200. And then we have Ike Villanueva plus 170. So first of all, I think that's off. And then you take a look at the DK salaries, and Prachnio is 9,000 and Ike Villanueva is 7,200. And I mean, it's crazy. I mean, is there like recency bias surrounding Prachnio because he looked good against Roundtree? I don't know, but I think it's going to be it shouldn't be, but I think it's going to be a tougher matchup against Ike Villanueva, who's actually going to try to come forward and knock his head off. Unlike Roundtree, who just didn't do anything that fight. It was a weird fight. Everybody expected Roundtree to absolutely destroy Prachnio, including me, and it did not happen. But that fight was in the bigger cage, which did favor a guy like Prachnio. This is going to be in the smaller cage, which I do think is going to favor a guy like Ike Villanueva, who's going to come forward, who's going to throw bombs. And we know that Marcin Prachnio has no chin. Prachnio has been knocked out 4 times. He got knocked out 3 times in a row in the first round. So I definitely think a knockout's on the table. So for Ike Villanueva, I'm definitely looking at that 7,200. As far as Prachnio, 9K, I'm not all that interested in. I think he could potentially get a finish, but if he does, if any, I think it's going to be later in the fight if Ike does gas out. But Ike's very tough. I don't see Prachnio putting him away at least early. But like I said, I think it's going to be some type of fatigue, maybe like a third-round finish if it does get there. But I kind of think Ike Villanueva is going to knock him out here. And I'm kind of looking at, I don't know if I want to bet Ike straight or even bet this fight at all, but Ike Villanueva by knockout could be something to look at. Prachnio, like I said, has been knocked out 4 times, and Ike Villanueva does have a ton of power. We'll take a look at the under 2.5, which, yeah, minus 130. Like, that's not horrible. I don't have access to the line, but that's not terrible. Minus 230 for the under. Fight doesn't go to decision, minus 200. I wouldn't touch that, but yeah, the minus 130 is not horrible. But Ike by KO is something I'm really, really intrigued by because I do think there's a good chance he can get a knockout here. As far as DK, I'm not going to go crazy on Prachnio, but I will have some. But I do like the Ike side at 7,200. That just seems way too cheap for a guy that has upside with a knockout. And I just don't see why Prachnio is this big of a favorite. It just makes no sense. Prachnio is not great. Not great at all. But yeah, the picks for me is actually going to be Ike. I'm going to take the underdog here. Don't know if I'll bet it straight, but I might put a little bit on the knockout prop, and then on DraftKings for sure I'll have a decent amount. Define looked good against Roundtree. It looked good as in just doing a little bit more. Very disappointing performance from Roundtree. Try Herbert and Ike Villanueva all day long. Don't mind it. I cannot bring myself to pick Prachny. It's hard to. The dude is not great. And to see the line this wide just is weird. Seems so much off. I feel like the bookie is trying to honey dick me with this fight. Line suspect. Yeah, the line is very suspect for sure. Let's see here. Did they switch up the 9 instead of 6 for Prachny DK salary? They might have. I think this should be closer to like an 8,200, 8,000 matchup. So I do think there's a lot of value on the Ike side. Ike by TKO props. Want to see the round props to see if anything that looks tempting. Yeah, maybe Ike first round knockout. Maybe Ike second round knockout. I don't really see him getting anything else. Yeah, I'd probably go Ike round 1 KO. I definitely will play at DK. Yeah, I'd say so for that price for sure. Good call on Vera last week. He almost got that sub. Grant is a warrior. Grant's tough, man. That was Grant's ever first loss by decision. Prior to that, he had 4 submission losses. Man, I thought Vera was going to finish him like 10 different times in that fight. What's up, Sosa? How you doing? Hopefully you do well this week. And we'll get to the next fight. So now we have a newcomer, Jeremiah Wells going against Warlley Alves. We have Alves who is 9,200 and Wells is 7,000. And they open up some props on this fight. They have the under set at 1.5, which I think is accurate. Plus 110 to the under. Fight doesn't go decision minus 215. And it makes sense. I think Warlley Alves probably does finish this fight in the first round. It's just I have concerns about what happens if this fight does get out of that first round, because Alves is notorious for really slowing down. And Wells, he's no scrub. I think Wells is very good. He's very well-rounded. He hits very, very hard. Not the most output. That's the one thing I don't like about him. Kind of low output, but he's a black belt in BJJ. Of course, not on the level of like a guy like Warlley Alves, but still, the guy's well-rounded. He's strong, good takedowns, good top game. I like him. I think he's good. The only problem is he is 34 years old. He's coming off of a layoff. He hasn't fought since like 2019. He's coming in on short notice, and he's coming in against Warlley Alves, who is a very good fighter. I think Alves is very skilled. It's just the cardio is what concerns me here. So I think you got to play both sides of this fight. I do really like Alves because I think he's very live for a finish in the first round. Wells has never been finished, but he's never fought the best competition in the world. You take a look at some of the guys Wells has fought, and it's not great at all, to say the least. So this is going to be easily the toughest test of Jeremiah Wells' career. And I say Alves does have a good chance to finish in the first round, but if he does not, it could get very, very sketchy very fast. So I wouldn't go crazy on Warlley Alves, but I do think you got to play some of them for that first round upside. And as far as Wells, I don't hate him as a punt. Because if he does survive that first round, and like I said, he's never, ever been finished, I do think he could potentially take over. I do think he's very well-rounded. I do think he's a good fighter. It's just, he's got a lot of things going against him. He's going to be the older fighter by 4 years, the layoff, 2-year layoff, and short notice as well. Just a lot of things going against the guy, but I'll go Alves. I'll go Alves first round finish. Let's see what they have. They don't have the first round prop out yet, but Alves inside the distance, minus 110. Yeah, they're all over it. And then Wells inside the distance, plus 370. Yeah, I'll side with Alves here to get that first round finish. But if he does not, I would recommend probably honestly live betting Jeremiah Wells just because of how bad the cardio of Alves is. Warlley, yeah, I think he gets it done. Grant might be impossible to KO. Yeah, he might be. He got cut up bad, but yeah, just wouldn't go out. What's up, Ron? How you doing? Thanks for hanging out. I don't think Jeremiah will fare Wells. I don't think so either. Yeah, 2-legger with the fight decision here as a leg seemed good. Not laying the number straight, but I'll find a way to get a little juice on it. Yeah, I wonder what the fight doesn't get decision on this one is. Minus 215. Yeah, minus 215. That's not horrible. Not terrible. Because I can see it be like an Alves early or like a Wells late. So yeah, minus 215 is not terrible. Don't hate that. Wouldn't be surprised if Alves shat the bed, but give me Worley. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all either. But he surprised a lot of people last time against Munir Lazez. Busted a lot of parlays, including mine. So hit the like we are 20 short of a good time. I agree. Let's hit that like. Let's get the likes up. We really, really appreciate that. What is up, Joseph? How you doing? My lock of the week is Shavkat Rakhmonov. There you go. We'll talk about him very soon. We have Danny Betts in the building. What's up, Danny? How you doing? Hope you're doing well. We have Vanilla Coco in the building as well. What's up, Vanilla? All right, so about 15 here. If you guys can't hit that like, that'd be much, much appreciated. And I say we get into the next fight here. So we have Shavkat Rakhmonov going against Michel Preux. And yeah, I mean, there's some things you got to point out right off the bat. Rakhmonov's going to be 26 years old compared to Preux is 39. I think Preux is turning 40 in like a month. So red flag right there. Okay, we take a look at the height. Rakhmonov 6'1", Preux 5'6", a 7-inch height advantage for Rakhmonov. Another red flag for Preux. Then we take a look at the reach. 77-inch reach for Rakhmonov and a 67-inch reach for Preux. A third red flag there. And then he's coming off of a layoff. He hasn't fought in since 2019 in a fight where he looked horrible against what was that guy's name? The Australian wonder boy Ismail Nardiev, in a fight where he gassed out. He got reversed like 3 or 4 times by Nardiev. It was just a horrible performance. And then he's coming back 2 years later, off a 2-year layoff, coming off of a surgery, a major surgery, coming off of a PED suspension. So, basically, I just named like 10 red flags, and we haven't even broke down the fight yet. But, Rakhmonov, I do think is the real deal. The guy's 13-0, 100% finish rate. He's never won by decision. But the fun fact about that is Preux has never lost by decision, 29 fights. So that could change here. I do think Rakhmonov does get a finish later in the fight. I feel like the first round could be a little bit iffy. I have seen Rakhmonov taken down, but his get-up game is very good. His ground game is very good. I've seen him get sweeps and reversals. And if Ismail Nardiev is sweeping you, I do think Rakhmonov can sweep you as well, get on top. And I do think he gets a finish in this fight. I mean, just the size advantage is crazy. Crazy. 12-inch. Or 10-inch reach advantage. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. And then the height advantage as well. It's crazy. So give me Rakhmonov. I like him at 9,100. I do think he scores very well. 100% finish rate. I do think he gets another finish here on the old 40-year-old Tractor Preux. But yeah, 9,100 is not terrible. If you like Preux, I haven't really seen anybody at all like him. But if you do, 7,100, I mean, he's going to, if he does win, it's going to be based off of wrestling control time. So if he does win, it's going to score a lot. So maybe sprinkle in a little bit of Preux if you want to hedge or something, but I do think Rakhmonov gets it done. It's hard to see a 40-year-old Preux who's coming off of a PED suspension win this fight. So give me Rakhmonov for the win. We'll take a look at the line here, and hopefully you got in on this early because a lot of money's coming in on the Rakhmonov side. As expected, now minus 285, minus 275, even minus 300 on some books. And I only expect that to get wider and wider. I personally bet on Rakhmonov, but I bet him like a week and a half ago. And to be honest, I probably wouldn't touch the line where it's at now, like minus 300. But I do think he wins. Probably a solid parlay piece. I'm not going to have a parlay on this card, but if I was to, he would be in my parlay. I'll do like a Hail Mary, but I do like Rakhmonov to get it done, probably inside the distance. So take a look at the odds here. The under 2.5, minus 130. Fight doesn't go to decision, minus 130 as well. That's not horrible. That's not terrible. Rakhmonov by sub plus 400. Rakhmonov by KO plus 235. Rakhmonov inside the distance plus 125. So not terrible. But like I said, Preux has never been finished in almost 30 fights. So I'd be kind of careful with that. Maybe Rakhmonov does get his first decision. Preux is shorter than Hasbulla. Close. Very close. Shavkat seems to be getting a layup. Yeah, I think so. I think he does get this done. I thought Mason Jones was getting a layup as well against Alan Patrick, but hopefully nothing like that happens. I don't see Rakhmonov Shavkatting the apple pie. Yeah, I don't think so as well. I'll be looking at the round bets for Shavkat. I think he gets it done inside 2 rounds. I'm leaning more towards like the second 2 after Prazeres does slow down. I think Shavkat inside the distance plus 135, not horrible. If you want a good parlay, go heavy on Milwaukee Bucks money line parlay with Rakhmonov. Yeah, I don't know anything about basketball, but maybe. I smell a guillotine after making the tractor do some panicked wrestling. Yeah, I can see that as well. Gone decision. We're not there yet. Brady, what do you think the line would have been if his opponent had fought Cowboy Oliveira? Prazeres versus Oliveira? I don't know. Oliveira's been looking horrible. I guess you probably got a. I don't even know. Like maybe even Prazeres like a slight favorite. Oliveira's been looking bad, but then again, Prazeres is like 40 years old. I'd line it to pick him. Who knows? But yeah, Clippers will win. I've got one parlay with Shavkat money line, and Gane Volk starts the third. Prazeres easy money. TJ, the first person I saw in Prazeres. There you go. Maybe you're right. As long as Rock doesn't pull an Antonio Arroyo, will be well. Yeah, his takedown defense isn't that bad. I think it's good. I think it's solid. Doesn't Shavkat have one UFC fight over a bum? Yes, he does, against Oliveira versus a guy with a good resume. He does have a very good resume. You're 100% correct. Very good. But the problem is he's 40 years old now. He's 40 years old now. No gas tank, up a weight class. At a weight class he probably shouldn't be fighting at. Big size disadvantage, big age disadvantage. The layoff, just a lot going against him here. All right, so we'll get to the next fight, and we have Raoni Barcelos going against Timur Valiev. And I think it's the best fight on the card. I think it's very well matched. These guys are both very, very good. I'm going to be going with Barcelos to win. Don't know if I'll bet it, though, depending on where the line goes. Barcelos now minus 205. I'm going to keep waiting it out. The line did open up at minus 150. I'd probably take it around like minus 180, minus 170. But I do feel like that line's going to close up a little bit. I see a lot of love for Timur Valiev, and I kind of get it. Valiev's a decent guy, very well-rounded, but I do see some holes in his game. He can be taken down. I do think Barcelos is going to win the fight with the takedowns, control time. Don't think he's going to sub him or nothing like that, but I do think those takedowns are going to be key. 8,800 for Barcelos. I don't hate it that much. I don't know if he finishes Valiev, like I said, but I do think he does get takedowns. I do think he does get control time. Maybe pays off the 8,800. As far as Valiev, don't know if I'll get there that much. I think if he wins, it scores decent, but then again, I don't really see him finishing Barcelos. A fight I'm not, that much interested to on DraftKings, but if I was to pick anybody as far as DraftKings goes, it probably would be the Barcelos fight, just based off the fact that he is probably going to get takedowns in quite a bit of them, and I think his striking is good as well. So give me Barcelos for the win, for the pick. Don't know if I'll bet it as of now. I'm going to wait and see where the line goes. If the line comes down a lot, I might bet Barcelos, but for me right now, it's going to be a pass. Fight goes to decision, minus 180, over 2.5, minus 215. Don't really have interest in either of those. Don't really have any interest in any props as well, but I will pick Barcelos to get the job done in what should be a fairly competitive fight for the most part. Let's see what we got here. Shavkat gets choked out. I lose hella cash on it. Yeah, if Shavkat gets choked out, a lot of people lose a lot of cash. A lot of people are on him here. I'll take the Valiev. I like it. He looked legit on IG, though. Shake my head. Hype train isn't real. 13-0, padded like a boxer. I think the hype train's real. The age thing is one of the most overrated disadvantages in the MMA. Matt Brown just showed us that. Well, Diego Lima's a bum, though. Shavkat's good. But it's just a huge age difference, 13 years. I think Matt Brown was like 6 or 7 years older. I think 6 years older than Diego Lima. Minus 275. Watch the live line is going to show. This fight is a reluctant pass for me. Wanted to bet Valiev, but I'm not willing to bet against Barcelos. Yeah, Barcelos is a very, very well-rounded. Unless name is Khabib, you don't keep your O in the OC. That's true for the most part. I agree. This should have been the co-main event. I think this is the best fight on the card. Yeah, exactly. He does score really good. That's why I have some interest. Yep. So that's why I have some interest there, especially with the takedowns and all that. What's up, Vince? How you doing? Okay, so we'll get to the next fight here. Before we do so, if you guys can hit the like, I do want to remind you guys to go check out the Stat Diggers if you have not. Me and Uncle Weezy went over into detail a lot of these fights. Talked about a lot of spots that did stick out, and yeah, lots of good stuff on there. So we'll get to the next fight here, which is Renato Moicano going against Jai Herbert. So yeah, we'll take a look at the finish stats first. So this is what stuck out to me. And we have Moicano, 4 losses, 3 by knockout, 1 by sub. And then we have Herbert, 2 losses, both by knockout. One was against Renato in his last fight, and one was against Reese McKee. Not a good look there. You take a look at the finish stats. Moicano, 50% finish rate, all by submission. Herbert, 90% finish rate, 80% by knockout. So in a combined 31 fights, neither guy has ever lost by decision. So I think there's a really good chance that there is a finish in this fight. The thing with Moicano, I think he's very talented. I think he's a very good fighter. I think he's really well-rounded. I like his volume. I really like his ground game. It's just he does not have the best chin in the world, to say the least, and Herbert can definitely crack. So if you do like Moicano, that's the one thing I would be worried about. But I absolutely think that Moicano should win this fight. It's just the chin is what is kind of stopping me from betting him. So just to put in perspective of how much of a drop down in competition this is for Moicano, these are the 4 losses for Moicano in his UFC career. Brian Ortega, not a bad loss. Jose Aldo, not a bad loss at all. Korean Zombie, not a bad loss at all. And then Rafael Fiziev, again, not a bad loss at all. I think all 4 of those guys smoke Herbert within a round, half a round. So with that said, like I said, I do think it's a big step down in competition. It's hard to trust a guy like Moicano, but he absolutely should win this fight. I've seen Herbert taken down, more than once. He can be taken down. I've seen him give up his back. And if you give up your back to Moicano, you're going to get choked out instantly. So I'm taking Moicano. I'm taking Moicano by first round submission. But could Herbert win? Absolutely. Herbert has a path to victory, and that's getting the knockout. If Moicano does not go for takedowns in this fight and wants to test out his striking, he very well could get knocked out. But then again, look at who's knocking him out. Korean Zombie, Jose Aldo, and Rafael Fiziev. So I like Moicano quite a bit to win. At 9,400, I don't mind it. I think he should be going for takedowns. He should be getting on top, getting a sub, probably in that first round. So I do like Moicano at that price tag. He is the most expensive fighter on the slate. And as far as Herbert, he's not a terrible pump play, because if he does win, there's a very good chance that it is by knockout. As far as the betting goes, I wouldn't recommend touching the minus 235 on Moicano. If it comes down a little bit more, I'll be very tempted, because I think in hindsight he could look like minus 600 here. It's hard to trust the guy. But under 2.5, minus 140, that is not terrible at all. Even the fight doesn't get a decision, minus 180, that is not terrible at all. Like I said, in 31 fights, neither guy has ever lost by decision. And I don't think that changes here. I think this is a fight that does finish within the first couple rounds. But as far as the pick, I'll go with Moicano, and he really should get this one done. If he does not, it's going to be a terrible look. Such a big step down in competition. Holding my breath and going with Moicano, I'm as well. It's hard to bet it, because you're going to want him to go for takedowns. If he does not, you're going to be holding your breath for sure. I'm going to ride with Moicano. He slightly stunned Fiziev in his last fight and was looking decent. Yeah, he's looking decent up until he gets knocked out. What's up, Boston Nick? How you doing, Nick? Thanks for hanging out. McKee must be good. That's why we think Chimaev is so good. I don't know about that. In Moicano's 10 UFC fights, he has a 43% chance of finishing a fight by sub. If he gets a takedown, Moicano by first round sub is plus 500 on FanDuel. Already on it. Not horrible. Not horrible. Decent look there. Very decent look. I think if there's a sub, it's probably in that first round. I think you should smoke this guy, man. I really do. Jai live for a KO, maybe even side 60 seconds, but he probably gets subbed realistically. Yeah, he definitely is. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Herbert knocked him out. It's just, man, Moicano really should win this fight. Parlay Kayla Harrison in every ticket you make this weekend and watch what happens. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing that. Minus 2,000, but slight value. I don't know. I'll probably pass there, but yeah, you can load her up in those parlays. Hard not to pick a guy called the Black Country Bank. Yeah, great nickname there. Great nickname there. Moicano by sub or anxiety-inducing decision. Yeah, it would be. TJ Kills right. Kamzat stole Ree's thunder. Maybe he did. Maybe Ree's was the real deal. All right, so we'll get to the next fight. We have Tim Means going against Nicholas Dalby. I guess I do want to point out the stats in this one, as I do think they're very important. I see a lot of love for Nicholas Dalby. I honestly, I don't know why. I don't know why. You take a look at Nicholas Dalby in his career, and first of all, he's hasn't been looking all that great to me. A lot of people are saying that he's been looking really good, but you take a look at his last fight against Dan Rodriguez, and I still to this day, I don't know how Nicholas Dalby won that fight. He got outlanded by a significant margin in every single round, and it really wasn't even close. Dan Rodriguez outlanded him 31-17 in the first, 17-9 in the second, 35-24 in the third. Dalby was 0 for 7 on takedowns, and Dalby did a lot of movement, a lot of missing. He only threw 155 significant strikes, or 55 strikes, and he landed 58 out of 155. D-Rod threw 222 and landed 105. So yeah, I mean, I'm still till this day, I don't know how Dalby pulled it off, but I guess he did. Was that a split decision or was that unanimous? That was wow. A judge really gave a 30-27 to Nicholas Dalby in that fight against Dan Rodriguez. A judge gave a 30-27 all 3 rounds to Nicholas Dalby. Yikes. Big yikes. So anyway, before that, he got dropped bad by Jesse Ronson, somebody that did pop for PEDs, I believe, or marijuana, either of the two, and got submitted by Jesse Ronson. Terrible look. Horrible look. Jesse Ronson, prior to that, beat Alex Oliveira, who's not great. Prior to that, lost to Peter Sabata. Prior to that, lost to Zach Cummings. Prior to that, lost to Darren Till. And prior to that, he did beat Eliza Zaleski dos Santos. Good win there. But out of the dos Santos, that's the only impressive thing in his career. Oliveira, decent win, but even then. So I don't know where all this love for Dalby is coming in at. And then you take a look at the stats, which I do think are very important. Tim Means, so much output, lands 5.16 significant strikes per minute, does have a significant strike differential of 1.58, which is phenomenal. 61% striking defense, and you have Dalby, who lands only 3.2 with only a 37% accuracy, a negative significant strike differential, which is something you do not want to see ever, of minus 0.37 and a 55% striking defense. Maybe people are thinking like Dalby can take down Tim Means, but you take a look at Nicholas Dalby, and he has only 1 takedown in his last 5 fights. Yeah, 1 takedown in his last 5 fights. So it makes no sense. Maybe I'm missing something. But I think this is, Tim Means, I think he's going to win this fight. So we take a look at the line, and like I said, a lot of love is coming in on Dalby. Means is now minus 123. He opened up minus 200. I'm curious to see if that line flips. Minus 125 now. Dalby's plus 105, plus 103. Dalby seems to be like a very popular underdog, and I just don't understand it. Maybe he's able to weasel his way to another win, but outside of him weaseling his way to another win, I just don't see how he wins this fight. As far as DK goes, I don't mind Tim Means 8,400. I don't mind him. I think if he does win, he probably scores well. Typically, his scores are very good. Don't know if he finishes Dalby. Dalby's never been knocked out in 22 or 23 fights, but Dalby has been dropped like 4 or 5 times in the UFC. So I can see like a knockdown. But yeah, Tim Means does typically score very well, lots of output. But yeah, I like Tim Means here. I like Tim Means. I'm not going to bet it yet. I'm going to see where that line goes. But if that line flips, I'm 100% going to be betting Tim Means. It just makes no sense to me. Even at minus 123, I'm tempted, but I'm just going to stay patient and see where it goes. But am I missing something? Like what's going on here with Dalby? I just don't get it. So we got in the chat talking about Kayla Harrison. Talking about some PFL. Tim Means by decision has serious value. Yeah, what's Tim Means by decision? Because I do think that's how it plays out. Tim Means by decision is Tim Means by decision is plus 190, plus 160. Not terrible. Not terrible. Like I said, I don't See him knocking out Dalby. I wouldn't be shocked if he did, but I'm not seeing him knocking out Dalby, but I kind of think decision as well. Definitely getting TKO'd then. I feel pretty confident in Tim, and he might be a sneaky DK play if he gets a third round finish or something. Yeah, I think he has a lot of output that could add up for sure. Dog money to be made on these PFL cards. Hit Cooper and type out big last week. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it seems like the favorites always shit the bed in PFL for sure. That's why I don't really touch it all that much. Wheezy, them Danes are birth tough with huge noggins. Yep, Wheezy had that the Dane story. I loved it. Dickless Nalby. Wow. I agree. I could see that as well. I could if Tractor like gasses out really bad, I could see that. I could see it, which would be crazy because Prazeres is like a second degree black belt. All right, so kind of looking at means there. I'm seeing where the line goes. I hope it goes to plus money. I'd be kind of shocked if it did. I just don't see why it would. But yeah, I mean, even like he has the height advantage, the reach advantage. I just don't understand where the Dalby love's coming from, and like, do people think he's going to take him down? I don't know. So we'll see. So next we have Andre Fili going against Daniel Pineda. And yeah, so I guess the big thing we got to point out here is going to be Daniel Pineda's finish rate, 100%. And it's crazy because, you know, we see sometimes where guys come into the UFC, they have 100% finish rate. They have like 10 fights, 11 fights, 12 fights, 13 fights. But it's not often, you know, at all where we see a fighter with 41 fights and a 100% finish rate. Just think about how crazy that is. This guy has never won by decision. He's very, very dangerous. When he does win, he gets it done early. And yeah, 33% by knockout, 67% by submission. He has shown some power as of late. And yeah, you take a look at the he's been finished 9 times. 9 times. Kind of like a Justin James, where kind of a killer be killed. 6 submission losses for Pineda, 3 knockout losses. We saw him knocked out in his last fight bad against Cub Swanson in a fight where he gassed out. So what it comes down to me here is I'm not like overly high on Fili, but I kind of got to pick him to win here just based on the fact that Pineda has about 1 round to get it done. If not, I do see him gassing out and probably getting finished himself. But in that first round, like, Pineda is going to be very, very dangerous. You know, his ground game is actually really, really good. He's very dangerous on the mat. Legit black belt in BJJ. And then he has power as well to go along with it. We have seen Fili knocked out a couple times. I think he's been knocked out. What was it? 2 times? Yeah, knocked out 2 times, submitted 2 times. So I think Pineda is very live in that first round. So 7,300 on DraftKings for Pineda. That's something I'm really looking at. I think he's a very good live dog there. As far as Fili, like, I don't love the 8,900 because I think if he wins, it's going to be like in that second or third round. And I do think he's probably going to lose that first round for sure. So I don't know how well he's going to score. But I'm kind of looking at the dog on DK just because of that first round upside. It reminds me just like Justin James. Like, if Pineda wins, it's probably in that first round. I don't know whether it's a sub or a knockout, but it's probably in that first round. So we'll take a look at the odds here. And we talked about this on Stat Diggers, and the fight doesn't go to decision, and the under just seem off. They seem really off. So it opened up at plus 135. It's now minus 110. So a lot of money's coming in on the under. Fight doesn't go to decision, opened up minus 105, currently minus 115. And I expect more and more money to come in on that under. I think on the FanDuel Sportsbook, the under 2.5 is currently sitting at plus 112. So I don't expect that to be there all that much longer because, yeah, this fight probably should finish. I mean, you take a look at Pineda, 100% finish rate. The guy's been finished 9 times. Fili, you know, decent finisher himself, but I think it's going to be more due to Pineda really gassing out. Pineda not having the best durability. Pineda getting up there in age, 35 years old for the division. So yeah, I can see it finished either way, but yeah, the under is kind of what I'm looking at here rather than laying the minus 225 on Fili. I would not recommend doing that, but I will pick him to win. If you like Pineda, maybe take a look at Pineda by like first round finish. See what they have it at. Pineda in round 1 plus 700. Like, that's not terrible. Like, that's probably how he wins round 1, Pineda. So that's not horrible at all. Even in Pineda inside the distance was like something crazy earlier in the week. Pineda inside the distance plus 400. Like, that makes no sense. Like, Pineda has a 100% finish rate. He's never won by decision. So you think his inside the distance line would be more correlated with his money line, which is what, plus 190? So you're getting plus 400. Like, that makes no sense to me. So if you like Pineda, yeah, hit that inside the distance line. That's probably a good look if you are on the Pineda side. But then again, he very well could get finished himself. So, But yeah, that seems off. The problem, Pineda can beat anyone on any given night. Depends which one shows up. Yep, exactly. If he does not get that early finish, he's in trouble. Fili yeah, Fili should win. Fili went to decision in 9 of his last 10 fights. That is true. But he has not fought Daniel Pineda. Pineda definitely is a madman, and then he does slow down drastically after that first round. Yep, he's coming off of a ban for being saucy for sure. And it definitely looked like it in his last fight against Cub Swanson. Pineda has been no one. Yeah, hasn't beaten many good names for sure. Yeah, Pineda looked really bad. Depends which Pineda shows up. Juiced up Pineda or regular Pineda. Yeah, if regular Pineda shows up, he's going to gas out in 3 minutes. If juiced Pineda gasses out or comes in, he's going to have a first round finish for sure. Fili by decision, potentially. Rather bet Fili or Moicano. I really wouldn't bet either. If I had to pick, I'd pick Moicano personally. Andre will tie him up and wrestle fuck his way through the storm. I can see that as well. But even then, he's very dangerous off his back. So I don't know if Fili wants to do that. He'd be playing with fire, but I could see it happening as well. But again, Pineda is very dangerous wherever the fight goes, at least early. I think Fili wins, but the lines, I'm going to bet Pineda by finish because that's off. Both in DK, Fili might get takedowns. Yep, I agree. So getting to the next fight here, we have a very interesting one. We have Danilo Marques going against Kennedy and Nzechukwu. We have Marques, 35 years old, 29 years old is Nzechukwu. Take a look at the reach here. Kennedy has an 83-inch reach compared to Marquez's 77.5. And yeah, I like Kennedy here. Marques has had a good run thus far in the UFC, beating Khadis Ibrahimov and beating Mike Rodriguez. But if you take a look into those matchups a little bit more, Khadis went 0-4 in the UFC, potentially the worst fighter to ever fight in the UFC, up there. Definitely top 10 worst fighters ever. And then Marques did take down slow Mike Rodriguez, who has a horrible ground game, like a 38% takedown defense in Rodriguez. And this is going to be Marquez's toughest test to date for sure against Kennedy and Nzechukwu, who actually has a very good takedown defense, 78%. He has been taken down a couple times, but what I like about the guy is when he does get taken down, he's able to get it back up right away. Very, very hard to hold down. Very, very strong. Very, very long. It's very hard to get this guy down, and it's even harder to hold him down. Kennedy's going to have a massive striking advantage in this fight, although I don't rate his striking all that great, but it's a lot better than Danilo Marques. He's going to have a massive cardio advantage in this fight. He's going to be the more athletic fighter in this fight by a significant margin. And as long as, Kennedy does not get choked out in that first round, I do think he wins this fight. I can see Marques having some success in that first, but after that first, I do see his gas tank failing on him, and I do see Kennedy taking over those last two or even getting a third round finish. So give me both sides on DraftKings. I think Marques is, decent upside because if he does get down Kennedy, if he does take his back, get some control time, and maybe find a submission, I think Danilo can score well. On the flip side, Kennedy, if he is able to stuff those takedowns, I think he has a field day here and scores very well himself. So both sides for me on DK. As far as, the betting side of things, the line actually flipped on this one. So Marques opened up as the favorite, opened up at minus 135, and he's currently plus 105, plus 108. Kennedy is this line. I don't see this line moving much as the week goes on, but I'm personally picking Kennedy. As far as the under 2.5, minus 135, I don't have access to that line, but that seems really good. That seems pretty good. I mean, Marques has no gas tank at all. Kennedy has a very good gas tank, very good output. Let's take a look at the finish stats on that one, because that definitely sticks out to me. Marques 81% finish rate, 45% by sub, 36% by knockout. Kennedy 63% finish rate. Kennedy has been subbed, and his only loss of Marques has been knocked out before. So yeah, the under's not terrible. I do think it's someone's probably getting finished either way, so that's something to look out for. Fight doesn't go to decision, minus 170, minus 210. Don't hate that as well. But again, both sides here, 8,000, 8,200. It's hard to see this one not finding the optimal just for the styles of both guys. Kennedy inside the distance, plus 170, not terrible. I'm kind of looking at the Kennedy third round prop. I think should be decent. I think he has a chance to finish the fight if Marques does slow down. I'm thinking I'm going to take the sprinkle on the Clint style on the third round prop to finish Kennedy. I was looking at that as well. FanDuel Sportsbook opened it up at like plus, I think it was like plus 800, something like that, which is not great. Kennedy inside 60 seconds, catching him in for the takedowns. I could see it like when people try to take him down, he has nice elbows to the back of the head or to the side of the head, maybe to the back, but I can see it. If Kennedy watches the film, they will see Danilo always shoots for double or single legs early. He shoots for him very, very early. As soon as the bell rings, he shoots for him. If they touch a Fili World this weekend, Team Alpha Male, yep, I agree. Should probably get it done against Pineda, who is no longer on the juice. All right, so we have about 10 minutes left in 2 fights. Doing pretty good on the time. Thank you all so much for hanging out. If you can, again, hit the like. It would really mean a lot. Also, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio to not miss out on the other content throughout the week. And yeah, I say we get into it. Starting with the co-main event here. Tanner Boser going against OSP. So, interesting fight. I think Boser should absolutely win this fight. He's going to have a massive speed advantage, a massive volume advantage. I think OSP has a really big ground advantage. It's just OSP does not go to the mat as much as he should. I thought he was really going to try to take down Jamal Hill in his last fight, but no, 0 takedown attempts for OSP. Very disappointing. And of course, he got knocked out. You got to think, come on. You probably should be taking down Tanner Boser here. It's just not something he does. So in his last 4 fights, OSP has landed 1 takedown. 0 against Rothwell, 0 against Menafield in a fight where I probably thought that he was going to try to take down Menafield, but he really didn't need to. And then Jamal Hill. That one really makes me scratch my head because he probably should have tried to take down Jamal Hill at least once. He didn't even attempt to do it. So back up at heavyweight for OSP. I went back and watched the Rothwell fight. I did not like what I saw from OSP at heavyweight. Very slow. He looked like he got tired very fast. So yeah, Boser's going to be really way faster, better cardio, better output. The only problem is Boser has been getting kind of screwed on the judges' scorecards as of late. Kind of screwed. He outlands Ilir Latifi 45-10. He outlands Andre Arlovsky 68-34. His only loss coming to Ciryl Gane. His only legit loss, I'd say, coming to Ciryl Gane. So that's something to think about there. But yeah, Boser probably should win this fight. As far as DK goes, I don't know. It's interesting because you take a look at Boser. If you guys have not seen the interview with Boser, I think it was with James Lynch, go check it out because Boser is pissed. Boser said it's kind of basically, to sum it up, like a killer be killed fight here. He wants to get this done inside the distance. He does not want it seeing the judges' scorecards, which kind of makes me want to target this fight a little bit. Kind of makes me want to target Boser a little bit at 8,300. If he does come in here trying to finish, I do think he probably can. OSP, his chin's not great. OSP has been knocked out 3 times. He's been dropped several times. But yeah, I don't hate Boser 8,300. Lots of output, potential finish. As far as OSP, like I said, if he went to his wrestling here, if he went to his ground game, he probably gets an insta submission. It's just no IQ, probably no cardio, and you probably don't expect him to get a takedown here. So, he'd be smart to. He'd be really smart to get a takedown. It's just not something he's been doing as of late. But yeah, give me Boser. So we'll take a look at the lines here, and I think the under could be a sneaky spot because typically you think of Boser and you think of fights going to decision, as I think the majority of them have. I think Latifi went to decision, Arlovsky decision. He knocked out Pessoa, knocked out Lins, took Spitz to a decision, and took Gane to a decision as well. So only 2 fights in his 6-fight UFC career have went or ended inside the distance. But this could be one that does inside the distance, just with this mentality of coming in here, trying to get that finish. So under 2.5 plus 100, fight doesn't go, is minus 120. That's not terrible. I think I'm going to wait it out. I think a lot of people are going to be betting the over in this fight because it is a Tanner Boser fight. But I can definitely see the under hitting here. But I'm going to wait it out. I think probably get a better price tag later in the week. But as far as Boser, I don't know if I'm going to bet it straight. Especially at minus 172. I saw it like minus 1. Yeah, I saw it minus 150. I was tempted then, but now that it's minus 172, there's just no way because maybe OSP does come out here and wrestle and fight smart and wins. So, and even then, if it goes to decision, there's a good chance that Boser probably, outstrikes OSP by 50 strikes and loses. The judges just hate this guy. So, probably going to pass on betting Boser, but the under might be a very, very sneaky look depending on where the line goes. I bet this fight to go the distance, OSP is going to spring a head kick or Von Flue out of nowhere. He very well could. I think OSP is live for a finish. OSP is very powerful. He was hitting Ben Rothwell with some very hard shots. I believe he dropped Ben Rothwell at the end of the fight as well. Can't trust the judges not to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory as far as Boser winning 100%. The lumberjack chops the OS tree down. I like it. Kill or be killed. All right, Boser going to get killed. Give me OSP. Yeah, I think that kill or be killed mentality is going to favor a guy like OSP in that fight. So Boser would honestly be smart to just fight like how he typically does. But it sounds like he does not want this going to the judges' scorecard. Yeah, we can wait for the weigh-ins, see how OSP looks. I think he weighed in at 240 for his heavyweight fight against Rothwell. I mean, talking to Medeiros, I feel it in my bones. Yeah, I'm probably going to stay away for the most part, depending on where that underline goes. Yeah, I thought he looked really bad as well. I thought he looked really bad, really slow. OSP via Von Preux, plus 400. Boser via decision, plus 200. Yeah, not terrible. Quick heavyweight versus OSP. Yeah, Boser all day. I have Boser all day as well. Just don't know if I'll bet it. OSP gonna look like shit for 10 minutes, then win instantly. Classic OSP. It could look like that. OSP is always live. So we'll get into the main event. Here we have Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov. Yeah, we'll take a look at the prices here. 8,700 for Gane, and then 7,500 for Volkov. So I'm probably playing both sides here as of now. It's just this one's interesting because I do see this getting extended. I don't see there being much wrestling or grappling on either side. I don't necessarily see a finish. I wouldn't be surprised if there was, but I can see this fight potentially not making the optimal lineup. I know they have 5 rounds, lots of output, but just with the styles of both guys, a very well-matched fight. I just don't know if it scores, all that good. Ciryl Gane in his fight against Rosenstruck or Frozenstruck, you can call him. I think he had like 90 points. So I could see like a Gane in a win get like 90 points, 85 points, 90. And at that point, does it find the optimal lineup with this new scoring system? I don't know. And especially factoring in the ownership, Gane's going to be extremely high owned, which scares me because I can see a scenario where Gane wins the fight and scores, I don't know, like 90 points, 85, 90 points, and it's not enough. I forget which fight it was. Was it Gane versus Boser where Gane won the fight and scored like 60 points? So that has a concern for me. Not much wrestling on either side. Decent output, but just with the styles of both guys, I don't see like that much landing. As far as Volkov, I'm more interested in playing on DK, I guess. 7,500. I don't really see a knockout from Volkov either, but high volume guy. I think he's more likely to pay off his price tag. But even that, as a whole, I'm kind of worried about this fight not scoring that well. And we know main events, they're going to be very high on it. Like this main event's probably going to be a combined ownership of like 80%, 85%, which is going to be extremely scary because if this does go the distance, which I do think it does, and if there's no wrestling, no grappling, depending on what else happens on the card, this very well could not be on the optimal lineup. So I don't know what I'm doing with it yet, but I think I'm going to have some lineups without the main event. I think it's a good look this week, especially on this card. Like this card has so many fights that have potential to score very, very well. So many fights. Like I think every single fight has potential to score very, very well. So I don't know if I'm going to go crazy on the main event. I think I might fade it in quite a few lineups. I don't know what my percentages are going to be for it yet, but depending on the ownership, like if it's very high owned, I expect Gane to be very high owned. I might just fade it. Might just fade it, or at least the Gane side, because like I said, Gane could very well win this fight. But if he's not getting takedowns, not getting knockdowns, not getting a finish, does he first of all pay off the 8,700, and second of all, does he break that 100 mark and find the optimal lineup? I mean, this is not Rafael Pessoa. This is not Tanner Boser. This is Alexander Volkov. So I don't know, something to think about. We'll see what happens. I monitor the ownership later in the week, but as far as the lines go, we have Volkov, who is plus 150, and Gane, who is minus 175. They open up the over and unders here. So over 1.5 is minus 325. Over 2.5 minus 180. Like that's not terrible. That is not terrible at all. Over 3.5 minus 135. Again, not horrible. Over 4.5 minus 110. Fight goes decision minus 105. I think this fight more than likely does go the distance, but yeah, I just don't know what I'm going to do with the DK side of things yet because there's so many great fights to target. So many great fights. I don't know if this fight hits that 100-point mark, and I think on this card, I think you're going to need 100K, 100-point fighter, at least in this price range of Gane here. So I don't know. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, in cash, I don't hate it in cash. So like I said, I do think it goes 5 rounds. I stacked the Zombie and Ige fight last week. It worked out well. Rosenstruck is garbage. I mean, he has a lot of power. I wouldn't say he's garbage. He has a lot of power. Mine is extremely suspect. I agree. Ciryl Gane almost made the Olympics. Dude can wrestle. Yes, he can wrestle. He's a decent wrestler. I said Gane was a hype train too and laid my chips on Frozen to demolish the train. I was wrong. Yeah, I was on Gane that fight. I don't think I bet it though. Ciryl Gane is the way and the truth. He could be. Going to hold off on betting Volk till later. Brady was right. That line will get bigger, and it is. Yeah, kind of surprising, but a lot of hype on Gane. Gane is nothing like the chinny old man slow jobbers that Volkov KOs. Yeah, Volkov has been KOing some chinny jobbers for sure. Harris over him. Kind of surprised to see Gane at 8,700, expecting 9K plus, but I agree with you. This fight might not make optimal. Yeah, it might not. It might not. Like I said, I don't see a finish. It could get extended, so I don't know. Volk looks so good lately in his prime, I think. Definitely in his prime. 20-pound. I'm curious to see what Volkov weighs in at, because he's been weighing in at around like 265 lately. So we'll see. General, taking notes in the chat. More like Gane in the wind. Gane v decision plus 200. Yeah, I feel like Gane decision's not terrible. Volkov is not much bigger than Gane. Ciryl has a slight reach advantage. Yep, they're about the same size according to the reach, but yeah, the height is going to be on the Volkov side for sure. Got to go with experience. Ciryl for the win by decision, just my logical thoughts. Not a bad look. I'm fading on DK, but riding with Volkov. Yeah, I might fade it as well. I know it's risky to fade the main event, but the ownership, I think it could be like a huge edge to potentially fade it. At least the Gane. So I'm not loving the 8,700 for Gane, because yeah, I think you can win. You very well could win. It's just if he does win, no takedowns, no wrestling, no finish, more than likely. Probably wins a decision. Probably lands a decent amount of strikes, but even then, with the new scoring system going from 0.5 to 0.4 significant strikes, I don't know how much that scores. And even I don't see Gane like controlling Volkov. Like in the Rosenstruck fight, Gane had like 5 minutes of control time just about against Rosenstruck. I don't see that happening against Volkov. So yeah, it might be interesting to fade the Gane side at least. But even Volkov, like I don't know if Volkov scores well as well. General's taking Gane. Volkov for dog. It's not terrible, no. Not terrible. The new scoring system is very pro grappler. Yep, 100% it is. All right, so we'll get out of here. Kind of touch on my favorite plays, and like I said, there's a lot of them. It's so hard to pick favorite plays on this card because I think everybody's in play. I'm not really gonna have any like fighter that I completely outright fade. I guess if anything, I don't like Nicholas Dalby because first of all, I don't think he wins. Second of all, he doesn't score well. So I guess if I was to pick one fade, it would be Dalby, but even then. So yeah, I like a lot of the early fights. I think that Ike Villanueva is a very solid dog play. I think that Justin James is a very solid dog play, and I think Daniel Pineda is a very solid dog play. As far as like punts go, Jai Herbert, solid punt if he wins, it's probably by knockout. Stoliarenko, decent punt if she wins, it's probably by armbar. Like all these fighters are so live. Jeremiah Wells, if Alves gasses out in the first, like I can make cases for all these punt plays here. So I kind of sprinkle some of these in. It was UFC 263 where just all the punts went off in one. I don't know if that happens, but I can make a case for all these punts. As far as like the 9K range, I do like Moicano. I do think Moicano gets it done in that first round. I like Rakhmonov as well. I think Rakhmonov gets the finish. Worley Alves is somebody you got to take a look at as well in that 9K range. For me, it's like a stars and scrubs type of week. I don't really love the mid-range where you have Means, which is decent play. You have Boser, decent play. Other than that, like there's not much in this mid-range. Rosa's fine. Fili's fine. But yeah, I like the stars and scrubs this week. So it should be a fun card. Looking forward to it. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram, DFS by the numbers. You can follow me on YouTube, DFS by the numbers. I'll be going live Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time after the weigh-ins. Curious to see the weigh-ins for this one. I do have 7 bets for this card so far. I'm looking to be adding a couple more. We'll talk about those on Friday. I'll also be posting them on Twitter as well. But yeah, again, thank you guys for hanging out every Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. I want to point out that on Sunday, I do have a live recap show on my channel, DFS by the Numbers, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. And then right after that, me and Uncle Weezy go live on Pub Sports, and we do the Stat Diggers, which a lot of people seem to like it. So we'll keep doing it. So that's been it, guys, and good luck. Thank you, 2 cents, for hanging out. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Jack. Don't sleep on Kennedy and DK. You're welcome. Oh, I'm not. I like that fight a lot. Thanks for reminding me. Shavkat, Raoni, Kennedy parlay plus 250. There you go. All right. See you guys. And good luck in UFC Vegas 30. Let's win some money this week. See you.